hope you had a good coffee break. There was certainly lots of chat, so I hope you managed to have a chat with some of the speakers. I certainly was. I'm going to follow up quite a few of them actually. I think this has given you, hopefully it's given you lots of food for thought. And I'm just going to do a wee shout again. Remember the data doctors are on the stand, so please, at the end, go and have a chat to them because we can help you if you're just even to start your journey. Always remember, having spent my life, not all of my life, to start off working in the city, but in the last 16 years in a big technology company, there's never so much things as a stupid question because everyone has to start somewhere. So even if you're thinking, I don't even know if I've got a database, never mind what I've got. No, there's nothing as much as a stupid question. It's the way you start your journey is to go and ask somebody. So please don't be shy about going and asking. So now I'm going to hand over to Mark, who is the Learning Resources and Technology Manager for Ayrshire College. So Mark, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you.
So I'm Bill Lennox. I'm the Learning Resources and Technology Manager for Ayrshire College. My colleague Matt.
Oh, sorry.
The data analyst, we're going to be talking about learning analytics. So what is learning analytics? It's exactly what we're talking about all day. It's data analysis. It's just looking at our perspective. So learning analytics is gathering data on learners and learning, analysing the data, and then using that to enhance the learning. So where are we getting that data from? Well, there's a variety of sources, and as education moves online more and more, the sources that are available to extract the data from get expanded on the web. There's really three main areas where we extract data from, and that is the ELE, which is the virtual learning environment, the Ayrshire College Moodle, around the country, Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas, they're all these virtual learning environments. And that's where students primarily go to access their posting periods, when they've accessed it, how often they've accessed it. We can put assignments on there so we can track that. Use the library information systems. So obviously many more e-books are accessed in here than actual books are put out in the library. So we can check out how many books have been put out, we can check questions put out, all these things like that. And then the last thing we look at is the actual student information system itself. That is, we can look at gender, we can look at location, all sorts of different things we can use that to put into predictive analytics. That's then put into a learning analytics process, and that can be anything from one guy sitting in a spreadsheet and matching up data sets to very complex computer systems that run many different algorithms. We then output that data. How we output it? Well, we can output it in a variety of ways. One of the main things that we're looking at the minute is to actually output that to the students. Most research does show that if you show students their own learning data, it actually improves their learning experience because it gives them the ability to take control of their own learning. And we also output it to alert and intervention systems. That can be really anything at all. If we believe that a student's at risk of withdrawing, then that can be sent to the relevant support people here at the college who will then make an intervention. The three main aspects of the learning analytics timeline, there's three main aspects. The first is descriptive analytics, and that's really just measuring the data. It's what is happening with the data. Diagnostic analytics, which is, okay, well, why is that happening? And then predictive is really what we're working on at the minute, and that's what Mark will be discussing. It's, okay, we're looking at what's happened, we're looking at why it's happened, can we use that to predict what will happen in the future? And Mark will be able to show you in great depth that yes, we actually can predict what will happen in the future. There are areas after predictive analytics that goes on further, right all the way up to automated, which would be adaptive learning, which is where the actual learning experience will change on the fly using machine learning based on how the student is progressing. Really simple example here to show you. This is just using one data set. It's looking at students and their success rates, and it's really just comparing that with how many times they logged into Moodle over the previous year. Now this is an old data set. This is from academic year 14-15. But the figures themselves aren't really what's important. It's looking at it and looking at how we can analyse it.
And it's really easy to see from these charts that we can look at it and really simply say, okay, well, it looks as though that a student who logs in at all is going to be more successful than someone who doesn't log in. And it varies between 11 and 22% for this particular data set. But it's looking at, okay, well, that's one data set. Then we'll look at another. The two main aspects that we're looking at in terms of learning analytics are student success and student retention. Retention is just keeping students to the end of the course. Success as well, they've completed successfully. Obviously, those are the two most important aspects that we'll be looking at. And again, we look at withdrawal and we can see the exact same thing, even more pronounced. We can see that somebody who's never logged into Moodle is at a much higher risk of withdrawing. So that's just looking at two data sets. That's looking at about 3 different attributes altogether. It's looking at withdrawal and success versus Moodle logins. In reality, we're looking at literally hundreds of different attributes. You know, you saw the slide at the start there that showed you the student information systems, the library information systems. You know, we're literally tracking hundreds of different attributes, and that's where the analysis comes in. So that's where I'll pass over to Mark, who will be able to tell you in more detail how we can use all different attributes to actually predict the success and the withdrawal.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the purpose of retention tools themselves. The first attempt is to identify students at risk of withdrawal. The next thing they wanted to do was make it easier for different areas for the staff. To communicate. And then also we wanted to create a tool that was actually engaging for the staff themselves, so that they're coming in during the day and it's actually something that they want to use. Now, the problem that we're trying to solve is we have 6,500 full-time students. We have 40 staff that can engage with them, and that gives us a capacity roughly of 400 students that we can, on a weekly basis, engage with. Now, what I mean is, what we're trying to do is we're trying to order all the 6,500 students with a probability of withdrawal for the purpose of engaging ones with the most at risk. So to give you another example, so say you've got 2 students. One of the students is at risk of withdrawal and the other one isn't. So the question is, if you can only speak to one of them, which one should you speak to? And that's what this is an attempt to do, is to answer that question. So this is the data cycle. So we start at the top. So the student generates the data with regards to their attendance, what they use in the virtual learning environment. So for instance, logons, activity, forum usage, and then also are they in the library. Once you get that, so that data goes into a database, and then we extract it from all the different data sources to get to the metrics and the analytics, and that's where we then work out what the probabilities are. And then we associate the probabilities with the student and then pass it over to the staff to decide whether they want to make an intervention. So each student gets a risk between 0 and 100, with 0 being the highest risk of withdrawal. And the types of things that are in that, so the students' attendance the previous week is the most predictive factor for withdrawal as a metric on its own. And this is what we previously used to make decisions as to identify risk of withdrawal. Also student funding, how much bursary do they get, what grants do they get, and then the virtual learning environment itself, same as before, so the log-on activity, forum usage, that kind of thing. And then just demographic information, so what age are they? Were they successful last year? Were they unsuccessful last year? And that's what there's more metrics, but that's what goes to give the actual score. So I'm going to give you a run through of an algorithm that we use, and then I'll give a couple of examples of the concepts that it's using to make the decisions. This particular algorithm, earlier on someone mentioned Kaggle. So this algorithm we use wins more than 50% of the competitions in Kaggle. So it's quite for one of a better expression, it's quite trendy right now because it's winning a lot of competitions. So this is a decision tree. So a classic decision tree, if you're a bank and you want to decide if you want to lend someone money, you start at the top, and then the question is this person employed, yes or no? So if it's a no, the next question might be, has this person defaulted in the last 12 months? And if it's a yes, then the decision would be, okay, we're not going to lend that person money. If it was any of the other answers, then you would lend the person money. So that's a basic decision tree. So we use decision trees to decide whether or not we think someone's likely to withdraw. So this is one of our decision trees we grow on a weekly basis. Now, decision trees are not very smart. They're not very good on their own. Your error rate with a decision tree is going to be poor. So what you can do, though, is you can grow more than one decision tree. So if you think about the first tree being grown as the one in the bottom left, and the second tree that's grown learns from the mistakes of the first one. So the second tree, we grow a second tree, but we tell it where the first one's not very clever. And then the collective answer between the two trees then votes to decide whether or not, in this case, whether or not the student is a withdrawal. So if that logic works, and both trees collectively can give us a better answer, then why don't we just grow more and more trees? Which is what we do. So what's going on here is that each tree gets a vote, but each tree is slightly smarter than the predecessor. And then collectively, they all make very good estimations of probability. So the concept here, or a couple of concepts, the first one is called wisdom of the crowd. So if you've got a jar of sweets, for instance, and you were trying to guess how many sweets are in the jar, then if you took 1,000 people and they all had to guess how many sweets were in the jar, and then took the average, then you would get to about 99% accuracy on how many sweets are actually in the jar. So that's the sort of first concept. The second concept is the actual machine learning. So I'm going to have to pick on some people here just now. So can you tell me, just guess, how many sweets are in the jar?
200.
Okay, so that's too low. How many sweets do you think it is?
450.
That's too high.
300.
Too low.
320,
Too low.
365,
Too high.
295,
That's too low.
345.
That's it. So that's basically a machine learning algorithm. So you start with the first tree, and it learns a little bit from the previous tree, and it continues and continues until you get the answer. But rather than just stop there, you grow lots and lots of smarter trees. Now this is the actual tool. This is the interface for the staff. Now you can see it says percentage attendance and it's pointing to 40. So each staff member historically used to have an area, and they would have all the students within that area. And what they would do is they would extract an Excel spreadsheet, and it would give them what that person's percentage attendance was for the previous week. So as you can see here, the data is much more rich. You can see the attendance since they started at the college. You've got some of the factors and indicators that go towards the predictive score. Now on them, so we show these, but it's based on what they want to see. So we ask the staff, what predictors do you want? So the predictors we show are the ones that they want. There's many more predictors behind that, but this is the ones they care about. And you can see here the predictive score is 19. So we're not saying we think you should intervene. We're saying we think this is where you might want to intervene, and then they make a decision as to whether or not they actually want to intervene. So the type of obstacles we have, so currently the main one is probably, we have to do, a lot of this is quite manual, so we have to extract the data from several databases, which is quite time consuming. Also, if you think about any sort of process improvement project, people can be resistant to any type of change, so you have to deal with that. So this is a high level of where we think we can use the data. So currently we're at the support services, that's what I've been talking about just now, for the staff. But we think we can go directly to the student using the same sort of methodology. And what we do is we give the student a score based on how engaged they are. And there's research to show that engagement links to success. And then there's a sort of feedback loop here, so we can then go back to the lecturer and let them know how engaged the student is, or how likely they are to withdraw. So this is so how we sort of imagine this to look. We would be giving them a phone app. So if I can just sort of draw your attention to the top right where it says student progress and class progress. So it's quite tricky with the student engagement because you can't compare sports with hospitality. So you're going to get different metrics that are not going to give you good engagement scores. But you can compare how well the average the class is doing. So you might compare someone in the sports class with the whole class. And that way you can feed back to the student directly to let them know how well they're doing in comparison to other people in their class. And then there's other metrics around it, so what areas they might want to work on. So the type of improvements we've had so far, so in the last 5 months we've reduced withdrawals by 300 for the same time period last year. So I think it's important to mention at this point that we're creating a situation that facilitates the intervention. So this tool is not the thing, so it's letting the staff do the things that they want to do, which is to create the intervention, and they're spending their time intervening rather than working with the spreadsheets. We're getting a lot of buy-in from the staff now, so the kind of conversation we're getting over the telephone are, can we get it to do this, can it do that, can we make improvements this way? So we're getting much more buy-in from the staff. So this slide here, so when I talked earlier on about the manual process, so in order for it to automate, this is our business intelligence tool that we use, the Castle, here. So this is a business intelligence tool we think we can probably use to do the automation part. It's certainly with the first attempt we're going to do it. And the advantage this has is it can connect directly to any database and pull all of the data together to automate that part of the process. It's also good for self-service visualizations. So what you're seeing just now is the withdrawal rates over time over the last 2 years. And you can see in the blue line, that's those 300 students I'm talking about. Now you can, as a manager, so this goes out to all the management, as a manager, they can go in and drill down to any department or any metric that they want to split the data on, and that will change the graph for them. If you've got any questions you want to ask, they've got a stand just out there. So this is how we currently use data, and this is with the visualization tool and our own one we've made with ourselves. So if you've got any questions, please come and get us later on. We'll be at the stand. Thank you.
Switch myself back on again. I'm really fascinated by all this sort of ed tech stuff because we used to scale industries in terms of their likelihood of being disrupted. And so I talked to you earlier at the beginning about music was the first one to be disrupted, so early disruption. Education was what we used to call slow burn, big bang. So all this kind of stuff using analytics of knowing when people are going to fall out, being able to pull them back in, early interventions. It's a massive global market, so very interested in this work that you're doing. So, final up, we've got Craig Hume, who's going to talk about data security. So thank you, Craig.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for having me here today. I'll be honest, when Jackie said to me to talk, I was very excited. In fact, I said that I was going to speak here before I even knew what we were going to be talking about. The truth is, I love this building. I love having it in Ayrshire. I've got a little 7-year-old daughter, and we walk past, she says to me, I can't wait to go to school there. Whether she does or she doesn't is almost irrelevant. It's amazing that we have a building in Ayrshire that gets people excited about education, and that's just a wonderful thing. So when I was thinking about what I would talk about today with Jackie's open remit, very trusting of her to say to me I could talk about anything, at first I started thinking about the data that we collect on ourselves. Maybe you, like me, a little bit of an IT geek. I've got a fitness tracker, so I know how many steps I take in a day. I've got a fitness app that allows me to check my running. Am I training faster? Am I training slower? I've got a smart home, so it knows when I'm in the house. It knows which room I'm in. I can even tell you how many times I boiled the kettle yesterday, if you wished. But then I thought, well, there's probably going to be quite a lot of businesses in the room and students that are maybe one day going to be running their own business, and maybe they'd be more interested in the type of analytics we use at Utopia to drive the company forward. We're a pretty successful company, year-on-year growth, and the decisions that me and my team make, well, they're based on real facts. We look at the systems that are selling well, we look at why they're selling well, we look at our customer engagements. Where are people coming onto our website? Where are they spending time? Why are they spending time on that particular page? And why is that page turning it into a sale? We obviously look at the other side of the coin as well. Is there pages on our site that aren't doing so well, that are sending people, bouncing them off to one of our competitors? Alongside that, we look at data to do with our own customer satisfaction, as well as the satisfaction of our team. Happy team members make a happy company, and that makes our customers happy too. So while all this was going along, little did I know that the real reason for my talk today, the real topic that I was going to be discussing, was just about to hit me like a train. I'd been invited along to an event by the lovely people at the Chamber of Commerce in this very building. It was a speed networking evening, and for those of you who are not familiar with it, speed networking is a bit like speed dating, but for business geeks. And what we get to do is we introduce ourselves and our company for about 2 minutes to everyone in the room, and everyone in the room gets to do the exact same thing to us. I was sitting there at my table, there was about 10 of us there, and the gentleman across from me sits down, and his opening gambit is 50% of the people at this table are going to suffer a data breach in their own company in the next 12 months. Now, I was quite smug. I kind of looked at him and thought, well, it's not going to be me. And then I started looking at the people around me and the people in the room, and I started thinking, 50% of the people in this room, a data breach? I don't believe it. And I'm in IT. But little did I know that it already happened to me. And as karma has a way of playing these things, it happened to me no more than 6 hours previously. So while I was sitting there, calmly enjoying my coffee and networking, the breach had happened at Utopia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you today what had happened, how we dealt with it, how we turned it into a positive, and how by sharing openly when things like this happen, Scotland and further afield, we can help reduce the chance of these things spreading in the future. So, the next morning I wake up, still unaware of what had happened, and I turn my phone on all too early, as we all do, logging into my emails as they start popping into my inbox. And I get an email from one of my colleagues that I wasn't expecting. It simply said, "Please find attached your invoice as requested." Now, I hadn't requested any invoice, and I certainly wasn't expecting him to be sending out emails in the middle of the night. Panic hit me. What had happened? How had his email become compromised? Well, I like to think of it as almost a perfect storm the day before. Afterwards, once we drilled into everything that happened, we created a timeline of what had happened. And the day before, my colleague had been dealing with one of our courier companies, a large UK-wide courier company. You see the vans everywhere. And he'd been chasing an invoice, and we'd been chasing this invoice for a couple of weeks. He'd spoken to his account manager, and he said, "Look, can you please send this invoice to me?" No more than 20 minutes later, in pops an invoice into his inbox. It's from that particular courier company, and it simply says, "Please find attached your invoice as requested." He never thought anything of it. He was in the mindset that he was waiting for an invoice from this company. Now, you're all going like this, no, he didn't, but he did. He clicked on the attachment, and again, hand in head moment, up popped a prompt to ask him to enter his password for his Google Cloud services that the team at Utopia use. Now again, he was having a moment, he was having one of those days, and he clicked on it, but we failed him because we didn't have two-step authentication turned on his email account. He keyed in the password, and nothing happened, it just went back to his emails. He clicked on the attachment again, and it didn't open, so he picks up the phone to the account manager at the courier, and he says, "Look, I've got this email, it's not opening, can you please send it again?" Now the account manager doesn't question it, even though he never sent it, he just sends the attachment again. Well, for the first time this time. So my colleague gets the invoice that he was expecting, and again is completely oblivious to the fact that his email account has now been compromised. What happened? The exploit was set up specifically to attack G Suite accounts. It filtered his outbox, and in the middle of the night started sending emails out to our clients. Now in the morning, when I worked out that this was what was happening, I pulled the team together quicker than ever. There's 3 things that we need to work out when this type of thing happens to us. Confidentiality. What information has been breached? What information from our clients, all that data that we were talking about that drives our company, that's in our systems, that's in the cloud. Has any of that information been compromised? Integrity. Has any of the information changed? The information that we base our business decisions on, has it changed since the last time we checked? And accessibility. Do we still have access to the accounts that were compromised, and has anything else changed? Thankfully, our particular data breach was relatively small. A few hundred customers had been emailed the same email that I had received. Please find attached invoice as requested. We had 2 options. We could either put our head in the sand, ignore the fact that the emails had went away like so many companies do these days, or we could get in front of it, get in touch with our clients and customers and let them know the dangers of the email that was sitting in their inbox. We've done the latter. And the response we got, I was really surprised, and I'm still surprised to this day. I prepared the team for the phone calls they were going to make and the emails they were going to send, and I said to them, look, you're going to get pushback. We've disappointed the people who trusted us the most. But the reality was, we got praise. People were like, thank you. I can't believe that's amazing. You took the time to pick up the phone, speak to me, and let me know not to click on that email. For the customers who had clicked on the email, we set time aside with them, and we made sure that their computers weren't compromised. Interestingly, in almost some kind of guerrilla marketing campaign, sales peaked. Customers were reminded we were there, we were friendly, we were honest. They had maybe been thinking about buying a new computer for their office, for their partner, for their son, and they bought computers. Definitely a silver lining to every cloud. What I hope to try and get out of sharing this today, because often people think it's crazy that I speak so openly about our own mistake. So many IT specialists and scientists describe computer viruses in the same way that we describe human viruses, and the way they spread is very similar. But with a human virus, when something happens, when it breaks out, we all hold a flag up, we quarantine the area, and we make sure that it doesn't get any further. The thing that will always stick with me in this particular situation is I picked up the phone to the courier company who'd sent the original email, suspecting they knew nothing of what was going on. Their response was, yeah, we know. It's been going on for like 3 or 4 days now. If they had just told us, if they had phoned us, if they had picked up the phone or maybe even just sent an email, then my colleague wouldn't have been caught out. Now still, I can't move blame away from us, but at the same time, if they had just raised their hand, it would have reduced the chance of it spreading. And if we can all do that, if we can all be less sensitive about our own mistakes in business and personal when we're dealing with our data, I think there's a massive chance that we can reduce these things spreading. So a couple of tips to round off. Two-step authentication on emails and social media. You know, if you have cloud email or if you use any kind of social media, make sure that's enabled. That would have stopped the threat happening to us. Password managers like LastPass allow you to create complicated passwords for every website you use. Other than that, just use separate passwords for each site. It's a wee bit tricky, but it is well worth doing. Install updates on even the applications you don't use very often. Don't use iTunes anymore, but it's installed on your computer. That's a potential threat on your PC. And most importantly, training for yourself, training for your teams, training for your family to make sure that what happened to us doesn't happen to you, because at the end of the day, people are probably your biggest weakness. Thank you very much.
I thought that was absolutely fascinating, and if you look at the number of cyber attacks, the latest report came out, there was 600,000 in England alone, and they reckon that's 100% under-reporting for last year. So if you take that across the UK, they haven't actually done a UK figure yet, but it is massive. So taking these steps is hugely important for all of us. And that, actually, I was listening to a TED Talk, I don't know if any of you listen to these, you can get this podcast abroad, and it was one on cyber, and the guy giving the talk said, in the dark web where all these things are things, it's like a shop. It's like going into a shop and you can actually buy a denial of service attack for X number of pounds for X number of users, and it comes with a guarantee of how much it's going to take out your competitors' systems or whatever, and you actually have to sign a sort of it's got a legal contract. And so we were having a bit of a laugh because we're going to love to see the judge taking that to court. I bought this denial of service cyber attack, it didn't work. But there is this happening, and you can buy these, and they give gold, silver, platinum and bronze kind of levels of service attached to them. And what Craig says is 100% correct, and it's only by being honest and open and collaborating, because the way you take these people down and destroy their market is by having that first response. And so actually we all need to be far more acute about reporting things that are insane, because then we can actually take these people out of business, because the only way we'll destroy them. The more that people hide it, and they've been locked out of their systems, and they know you pay 500 quid to get them unlocked, you think, well, that's more than, I'll just pay that because it's less embarrassing. Well, it's not actually. You need to be reporting these things. So if anything ever happens to you, I would urge you to report it in the Scottish Business Crime Cybercrime Unit. Just get on the phone to them, because the more information we can share, the better we become at defending ourselves. So I'm just going to wrap up. I hope you found today interesting, and I hope if you take away one thing, it's the fact that in this new industrial revolution, it's all about data, and that's changing everything. It's changing how we measure business, changing how we measure success, changes how you can develop your services and products, and it's going to change everything. And I think if you look, what's the opportunity for Ayrshire? Well, if you look around Ayrshire, I don't think any of you would argue that through this sort of post-industrial revolution, Ayrshire has suffered really from, work going away, has suffered like a lot of economies around the sort of fringes of Scotland have. This is your opportunity because data is everywhere and it can be anywhere. So why couldn't you be a global centre of excellence? You can. America's not going to be the biggest economy in the next few years. They've already said it's going to be other economies that are going to start at least paralleling it, if not overtaking it. So, the opportunity is here for you. If you're a business, I urge you to come and start working with the college. It would be nice to think we could maybe eventually have our own data club running down here, where businesses, students can all get together to start solving some of those tricky problems, actually look at new things you could be doing. It's all here to be done. You've got a brilliant place to live, to attract new people to come and do business here. You've got a fabulous place. I would love to live in Ayrshire. I'm always sort of driving down towards the towards the sea, thinking, what a fantastic place. It's a fantastic place to be. So you have got an opportunity to reinvent your future and make that a successful future. So that's my call to action for you. Whether you're a business, to come and start working with the college, whether you're a student, to take advantage. You can literally change the world in any industry. So I hope you've kind of got a flavour for this morning. It doesn't matter what industry you want to be in, you can change the world. And if you're in teaching, it's to get that enthusiasm across all the students, especially down to schools, so we start getting more of our kids aware of the fact that this is the career that can take them around the world and let them do anything they like. So I'd like to hand over now to the principal to say a few words. So thank you very much for coming this morning. Please go and see the data doctors before your lunch. So please go and see them and have a chat, because everyone's journey has to start somewhere. So I'm going to hand over. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I've just come in to say good afternoon and thank you all for persevering through the bad weather and traffic and snow and everything this morning to get here, because I know it wasn't easy for everybody, but we do appreciate that you made that effort. I'd like to thank Caroline for chairing, and I know that's always a hard job, so well done, especially with some of the difficulties you had earlier today. So I hope that you've had a really enjoyable morning. I stand between you and lunch, so I'm going to be fairly short. As digital skills are very important to us as a college and to our economy in Ayrshire and across the whole of Scotland. For me, as the Chief Executive of Ayrshire College, we have really invested in our digital skills, and certainly with our performance and planning team, I now feel I'm much more prepared to make the decisions I have to make because of the analysis that comes from that. And that was, touched on earlier today. I think it's really, really important. I love ClickView. I know the staff sometimes don't like it, that I love ClickView, and I can drill down to every class group and find out what's happening and ask people questions. And Michael McHugh particularly likes that. I like ClickView, don't you, Michael, for asking lots of hard questions every day. And I think, businesses, we are a £55 million business in Ayrshire College, and for me, being able to ask those relevant questions about running the business and what's happening in the business and how our customers are performing with regards to our students is really important, and what interventions can we make to make sure that we give them the best possible opportunities. So digital skills are really, really important to us. The government's just announced a digital fund for employers to bid into, a £36 million fund for employers to bid into to get some support for training for their staff. So I would encourage you all to look at that and see what benefit you can get from that. But certainly, I think, as you've already said, Caroline, I think the future is really, really bright in Ayrshire. We are here as a college to help you in any way we can, whether you're a student, whether you're an employer or one of our key stakeholders. We want to be able to work with you, because by working together we can always maximise the opportunities we have, and that's the same in most industries. I'd just like to say a bit about the digital security stuff. I think it's really, really important that we all take responsibility for that digital security. And I'm always saying to staff in the college, if you get a very strange email, for goodness sake, don't open it, just tell IT you've got it, and then they'll deal with it. And I had a funny occasion once when our director of HR had his personal email breached, and I got some very strange emails from him, but he was very confused and red-faced about it, I have to say, but I did appreciate why it had happened. I did wonder why he knew so much about my personal life, but it was interesting. So we have to all be aware of all of these things and take them all very, very seriously, because there are, serious matters sitting behind that. And I've done quite a lot of work with the cyber security unit and with Police Scotland, and it is sometimes really difficult for companies to report crime because they worry about their reputation. And I think you would be amazed at the number of really large multinational companies that don't report crime, and they don't report it because they're very worried about how that would affect their reputation in the market. So they'd rather bear the cost of it. So if money's going out, they'd rather bear the cost of replacing that money as actually saying to somebody, well, we've been done here. And I think that's something that's a challenge, and I know it's a challenge for the cyber security unit and all of the work they're doing. So I hope today stimulated some ideas. I hope from the outcome of today that you've met some new people, made some new friends, and made some connections. I hope you'll take the time to engage with the events that are happening after lunch. And I have no skills in coding, so I won't be joining you this afternoon, but I do hope that you have a good afternoon. I just want to say a few thanks to people. Obviously to Caroline, thank you very much. We're really delighted that you were able to come along today. To Gillian, our keynote speaker, and to Castle Computers. Castle Computer Support Services, I better get it right. It's always important to get your sponsors right. So thank you very much to them for sponsoring the event, to the Ayrshire Chamber of Commerce for their sponsorship, thanks as well, and to Capita who have supported us today, because without that support we couldn't run an event like this. Finally, I'd just like to thank Jackie, who's led the team behind this event and done all the hard work. She's feeling quite poorly and managed to get through the snow to get here today, so thanks to Jackie for doing that. And to our own teams internally. I'm very lucky as a principal. I've got 900 staff and they're a great team, and all of the teams work really well. So today wouldn't have happened without the support of our marketing team, of our estates team, of our ICT team, our catering team and our curriculum teams. So they've designed and delivered this today, and I do want to say a big thank you to all of them, not just for what they've done today, but for what they do every day for our students, because they do go that extra mile. So I hope that you've enjoyed coming along and visiting the college. If anybody wants to have a tour of the campus, if you haven't been here before, then if you want to speak to one of our team, I think the us here from marketing, then we'll be able to organise that with one of our estates team to let you have a wee look round if you would like to do that. Otherwise, I just wish you a very enjoyable lunch and a safe journey home. The weather has improved. You might not have seen it because you've been in here, but the weather has improved. So thank you all once again for coming along today and for giving us your support. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Heather.
Well, you're not getting lunch. Oh, I'm sorry. That's terrible. I did that once before. I promised staff cakes and I didn't give them cakes. They didn't speak to me for about 6 months. Sorry if they're not getting lunch as well. Can I just say that there is a lovely coffee shop here and it sells great stuff and it's not expensive and upstairs. Bigger factory, which is even cheaper. So if you would like to have some lunch, then please feel free to walk to the refectory or to the coffee shop. My apologies. See if I'd organised it, you'd have had lunch.
Thank you, Heather. You'd think we were through the East Coast when you were all like, you've had your tea. But please, all the staff stands outside, go and talk to the Doctors Digital guys, and please keep coming back to college and let's try and have a centre of excellence for data in Ayrshire. Thank you, enjoy, take care, have a good rest of the evening.